We're here with another TNT WXW Germany special as we're joined by one of the most accomplished wrestlers in WWX history, but all of European wrestling. Spanning a near 13-year career, he has held just about every piece of gold in WXW. He has competed for promotions such as Big Japan Wrestling, Major League Wrestling, CZW. He is the current head coach of the WXW Academy, the leader of Amboss, Robert Dreissker. How are you, Robert?
Hey, I'm good. I'm finally starting to recover from the World Tag Team Festival, and I'm feeling good, and I'm happy to be here.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining. You mentioned it. I'm going to show off. I've actually still got the band on from the weekend because, yes, I arrived home yesterday myself after a great weekend. Well, almost a week in Germany, and really, really enjoyed myself. The show itself was amazing, and we're going to get a chance to talk a lot more about that in just a little while. We're TNT, it's the Great British Wrestling podcast for Great British Wrestling, as featured on bodyslam.net and the Jonathan Podcasting Network. I am the host, Andrew Moore, Andy the Most. And so you first joined up with WXW in 2009, is that correct?
Yeah, I actually had my very first match for WXW, even though I'm originally from Austria. But I've known Tassilo Jung, Felix Kohlenberg, and a bunch of other guys from the German or Continental European scene, basically since around 2005, 2006, where I started to help out at shows, do graphics and stuff like that, just to be a part of wrestling in some way. So I knew some people already, but I was originally trained in Austria by Michael Kovac. And yeah, it was basically a coincidence that that I debuted for WXW because I was just going on a trip for fun, and one of the very first lessons that you learn is that you always bring your gear. That's what I did, and then I ended up wrestling on that show.
Now, so like early on in WXW, they were a bit of an extreme side promotion, which hence the name, the West Side Extreme Wrestling. Was it that style, or was it the European Cat style, the strong style that they were beginning to introduce into the late 2000s that really grabbed your attention?
I myself, I was never really a big, and I'm still to this day, I'm not a big deathmatch fan. I do like or let me put it like that, if a story calls for a gimmick match, then I'm all up for it, and it can be a great that can be a great tool to tell a story. But I was never a big fan of like having like a random hardcore division or just doing death matches just for the sake of doing death matches. I mean, not that it's wrong or anything. It was just never my my cup of tea, so to say. So yeah, I was more like the guys who really draw my attention in WXW when I was looking at it as a fan were the likes of Baron von Hagen, for example, who I remember had like a great match with Go Shiosaki back in 2005, maybe 2006, something around something like that. So yeah, it was more the the strong style and wrestling matches rather than the hardcore slash deathmatch stuff that got me interested in WXW, I would say.
That's very similar to my views. I love a good hardcore match if the story is there for it, but sometimes just for the sake of having it, I do kind of agree with that stance. Now, early on, you did get to go over to a Big Japan Wrestling, like only after a couple of years.
Yeah.
What was it like? What was that experience like? Was it a culture shock to you at the time, or?
I mean, at that point, I was probably 19 years old or something, or maybe 20 years old. I was really, really young. I just graduated from from school, and I got this offer from Felix Kronberg at the time, which I was always, of course, really happy about. And it was basically a no-brainer. So while the rest of my classmates were going to, I don't know, like somewhere to Turkey or Greece to get drunk for a week, I packed my stuff and went to Japan for 6 weeks to train wrestling at the Big Japan dojo. But yeah, obviously that was a culture shock for sure. But also at the same time, like with 19, 20 years old, I didn't really see that much from the world yet. So, it was probably because of that even more a culture shock. But it was very interesting. 6 weeks, I really learned a lot from the likes of Daisuke Sekimoto, Yoshihito Sasaki, and I don't know if I would be sitting here right now, to be quite honest, if it wasn't for those 6 weeks in Japan where I could really learn a lot, wrestle a lot also, which was not actually even intended in the beginning, but because I got some size to me, I think it was interesting for them to use me on their shows as well, which I'm super happy about. And yeah, it was a great time.
And it was just all like shortly after that was it prior to it that they had the joint promotions? Because I know they WXW and Big Japan, they had a few co-promoted shows a few years, like a year afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. I went in 2011. There was already a working relationship. I mean, I don't know the insights or anything, but there was already a relationship built up there. I think Sekimoto was here for 16 Carat prior to that, maybe even early. Could have been even 2009 or 10, something like that. And yeah, a year after, it was when WXW, CCW, and Big Japan were running shows together in Japan afterwards. And I think to this day, actually, the WXW logo is still on the Big Japan Strong World Heavyweight Championship. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember when we had Tassilo on very recently. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did mention that as well. Now, so like shortly after that, you had been kind of taken under the wing by Walter, or then Big Daddy Walter, forming the tag team, the Outsizers, which is out AUT, not OUT, because of both of your Austrian heritage. What was it like working with Walter during that early period of his career?
I mean, I would say Walter took me under his wing like way before that. I mean, I don't even know how long I've been knowing Walter, maybe since 2006 or 7, something like that. So yeah, at least like 4 or 5 years prior. After, I mean, I started out regularly, like as a regular in WXW in 2012, but I knew Walter way before that. So yeah, that's I would not say that's the point where he took me under his wing. I was there for quite some time already. But yeah, like I really enjoyed the time with Walter as a tag team. Obviously, yeah, basically being teached on the job is a great is a great thing. And yeah, I think we had a lot of we had a lot of great and cool matches. There's definitely a lot of really nice memories to our time as the Outsiders, which would probably be a name that both of us would not pick anymore today, but but like almost like 10 years ago, it sounded like a funny and cool idea, so we went for it. But yeah, I definitely learned a lot from Walter. I mean, it hasn't changed to this day, really. We're still almost, I would say, I mean, now that he's living in America, I would not say we're in daily contact, but we speak to each other a couple of times a week. So yeah, I'm still under his wing, so to say, to this day.
That's excellent. And then, of course, you joined the stable known as Cerberus, where you got to work with a rookie, Ilja Dragunov, of course, again, doing some great things right now. What was it like? What was he like during that period as a young rookie?
So Cerberus was came at the right time for me, because even though the tag team with Walter was a great thing, and we're also tag team champions and all that stuff, but Walter was also always in the main event picture, which led to me being, I mean, like, that's not a complaint or anything, but that also leads that you're just somewhere in no man's land on the card, which how should I say, is not really where you want to be for a longer amount of time. So Cerberus came in super handy for me, timing wise, because it was I felt like it was time to move on. So we did the turn from myself against Walter at 16 Carat, and then I joined Cerberus together with Julian Nero and Ilya Dragunov. And coming back to your question, yeah, at that point, Ilya was very, how should I say, like, let's say if we needed to wrestle in match 6 or something like that, he would already charge around backstage like a raging bull in match 1 or 2, getting himself into the mood, while I was always more calm. And with Julian Nero being the greenest of the three of us, it would, I think, seeing it from the outside, that might be a really entertaining visual, with the insecure green guy, the calm big guy, and Ilya Dragunov raging around backstage, and what seemed like uncontrolled at times. But also Cerberus was a great time. We fought I mean, they were not really called Ringkampf at that time, but we wrestled a lot with Walter, Axel Dieter Jr., who's now known as Ludwig Kaiser, the Mac, and all those guys. So there's also a lot of great memories about that time.
So you actually held the tag team championships, once with Walter, once with Julian Nero as Monster Consulting, once with Ilya, and recently with Anil Marek. Which have been your favorite of the 4 tag team runs as champion? Hard questions.
I cannot really answer your question, because all of those title reigns were super different. And if you think, if you really look at it, it's almost like a full circle thing, because with Walter, I was the bloody rookie. Then it was me and Ilya Dragunov. We were like kinda on the same level at that point. Maybe he had like a, maybe he was a little bit ahead of me, but we were somewhat in the same region. Then I was tag team champion with Julian Nero, who definitely is not my student, but it was the first time that I was giving guidance to somebody. So that's almost already, so it's already starting to turn. And then it's Anil Marek, who's literally my student that I became tag team champion with. So all of those 4 title reigns were so different, and I had a different role in all of them, that I cannot really say which one I enjoyed the most. Probably I would say the Monster Consulting time was the one tag team that was over the most for like half a year. I think that was was super hot between Carat and World Tag Team Festival when we eventually dropped the belts. But again, like all four reigns were special for their own reasons, and they're not really comparable, I would say.
Yeah. Now, it was when you were working with Nero as the Monster Consultancy, you changed from being Robert Dreissker, a name you'd used throughout, and then became Avalanche. Was it due to the tag team gimmick, or was there another reasoning behind this?
No, the change actually came already with the Cerberus.
Okay.
I mean, I used Avalanche as a nickname since probably 2011, but it was Avalanche Robert Dreissker. And then with Cerberus and the gimmick being like very over the top and everybody being crazy, everybody losing their mind and stuff like that, the idea was to go to make it a little less human and just drop the Robert Dreissker and just replace it with only Avalanche, which made sense at the time, I would say. But it was not, like, to me, it was not really a huge change because I was using that nickname basically or almost since I started out. So, but yeah, the thought process behind it was, okay, here's a crazy guy with who's rolling his eyes, his tongue is out, and he's probably not the smartest. Let's just call him Avalanche instead of Robert.
It was around that time that you also got to go and compete with MLW in Major League Wrestling. What was that experience like? Did you get it because you fought against, was it Tom Lawler in a championship match?
Yeah, I'm just thinking. The MLW was definitely after that. I think it was the same year when WXW ran a show on WrestleMania weekend in New York, which would have been WrestleMania 35. So that's 4 years ago. I'm really bad with numbers, but something like that. But also that was a really cool experience at the time. Also just working, I mean, that's something that will never get old in wrestling anyway. If you at one point start to work with people that you grew up watching on TV. So yeah, that was a cool experience in MLW, like working with Conan as an agent, and also like the match with Tom Lawler was pretty cool. Yeah, how should I say? We're still in loose contact, like maybe once a year or something like that. I'm really happy about the stuff he's doing right now, or what he has been doing for the last 2 years. And yeah, that was a really cool match, and also it was how should I say, like, it was pretty cool for me to wrestle for the MLW world title on the same night that Walter wrestled for the NXT UK belt with Pete Dunne, obviously on the way bigger stage, but it's still cool to think, okay, there's like those two Austrian guys flying to New York to wrestle for major wrestling belts, even though of course I'm aware of the size difference between MLW and WWE, don't get me wrong, but still it's still kind of cool.
But being part of the WrestleMania weekend as well, what was it like to have WXW go to America for a WrestleMania weekend and to compete on it?
I really enjoyed it, especially wrestling in New York was something really cool to me. I do remember how awkward the moment was when you walk through the curtain and there's people chanting your name and knowing who you are, even though you're so far away from home, and a lot of those people you would think they don't know you, but here they are chanting your name and enjoying the show. That was a really nice experience.
So in 2015, wXw opened up the wXw Wrestling Academy. When did you start to become involved within the coaching side?
I was before I moved here to take over the academy as a head coach in 2020. I was doing some coaching already for actually a couple of years in Vienna at the school of Michael Kovac in Vienna. So I had already a little bit of experience, even though I never called myself, oh, I'm a pro wrestling coach. I'm a pro wrestling trainer, because I was always very hesitating, because I always felt like, no, I do not have enough experience to to call myself that. But over time, I got more confident with that thought, and I also think I was doing a good job back in Austria, which I guess eventually also led to me being asked if I could think, if I would say to take over the wrestling academy, which probably maybe at first might have come off surprising to one or the other, but because I'm like, let's be honest, my wrestling style doesn't scream like, I don't do a lot of wrist locks and fancy wrestling stuff. But on the other side, just because I don't do it in the ring doesn't mean that I haven't been practicing it for 13 years now. And yeah, I've basically been inside the wrestling ring for the last 13 years, twice a week, unless I was injured, which was like, I would say like roughly 1 year throughout my career I was injured. So that's obviously where you were not there, but you can still learn on a theoretical level about wrestling then. But yeah, so coming back to your question, was the wXw Academy, I moved here in early 2020 to take it over, and now we're here.
What have been some of your most rewarding moments as a coach, I guess?
In general, what I do like about being a coach is to see people who, and I said that in a different interview. What I do like the most about coaching is to see people who already, don't get me wrong, training people from scratch is can also be very rewarding, and to see people like make the first steps. But for me personally, what I enjoy the most is giving people guidance who already have a base, and they already have they already have a tool set, but they don't know how to use those tools. So they working with guys who already on paper know how to do stuff, and then showing them how to use those tools that they already have. That's what's the most rewarding to me. It's like, it's a little bit more detail work maybe, but that's what I enjoy the most, to have those guys that already have a base, that they know how to do the moves, but they don't know when to do it and why to do it, and teaching them why and how they should do it and when, and then them getting a reaction for it that they haven't gotten before, just because maybe the idea was good but the execution and the timing was wrong. Like, that's, maybe I'm too complicating this right now, but that's what I personally enjoy the most.
Yeah, no, I see where you're coming from. So yeah, where they already have a foundation, but and allowing, say, somebody who's already big and got quite a lot of size, but teaching them how to really use that size or weight effectively, guys that can do jumps and flips, about when to do those jumps and flips rather than just doing jumps and flips. I think, yeah. Now let's talk about some of the young guys that have been coming through the wXw Academy, which have been some really top-notch superstars coming through as of late. Now, if you could pick 4 of them, now the Progress Wrestling here in the UK, we have a thing called the Natural Progression Series that sees a lot of young contenders come over. Peter Tahani just competed against RKJ. If you could pick 4 guys to be in like a fatal 4-way as a qualification match, which 4 guys would you pick?
We're talking Europe?
Europe, yeah.
Ilya Bloom. I mean, I don't need to mention Peter because he's already in there. Goliath Jr.
Got my bullet village on.
Yeah. Probably Kuro from France. And who's going to be the 4th? I would say Anil Marek, even though he's injured right now, but I hope he's coming back soon. By the way, that's not a spoiler. It's shoulder injuries, I can tell you from experience, are the worst. So that's going to take some time still, but yeah, that would be my 4 picks: Ilya, Anil Marek, Kuro, and Goliath Jr.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the current Hungarian contingent, and my bull of the village. My wife, who I brought to the show, her new favorite wrestler happens to be Peter Tahani now.
What a surprise!
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how popular that young man has become, because I don't think I've ever heard anyone get more cheers than Speedball Mike Bailey in a match against Speedball Mike Bailey, and to see that young Peter receive such a reaction, it's just so awesome to see.
I mean, to be quite honest, I cannot comment on that, but I'm happy, even though, of course, it doesn't really, how should I say, my Amboss alter ego doesn't want me to say that, but obviously, Peter is super popular right now. But yeah, it's not, how should I say? Like, to me, it's not really surprising, even though that might sound odd. But he's so talented, and he's so real at the same time. You know, like he's not playing anything. He's just being himself out there. Maybe just amped up a little bit, like, you know. So yeah, I'm really happy he's getting the reactions he's getting. But I cannot say I'm surprised. That was, I don't know, like that was a long time coming, I would say.
Okay, we're going to talk about Amboss, but before we talk about Amboss, we'll talk about 16 Carat, because this is kind of where the whole your heel turn came into effect, where you started to become this leader of Amboss. But what was it like, 16 Carat, being back in that Turban and Hala? You know, after 2 years away, what was that reception like?
Oh, I really enjoyed 16 Carat. I mean, we had 750 people in attendance, I think, which was the maximum that we could do at the time. And I still think, I mean, maybe, I mean, I guess there's gonna be people with like split takes on it. I personally really enjoyed 16 Carat, and I would also say, for 750 people wearing what is Mundschutz in English? A mask. Got that. So for 750 people who needed to wear a mask for 3 days straight, I think the atmosphere was great, and I think the atmosphere was 16 Carat worthy. Was it the loudest 16 karat ever? Probably not. But again, for 750 people, basically being forced to put on a mask for 3 days, I think it was it was a great atmosphere over the weekend, and yeah, lots of good memories about the tournament.
And you got to face off against one of the best wrestlers in the world today in Jonathan Gresham. An incredible match. Would talk us through what that match was like to be in the ring with Mr. Gresham, ROH champion at the time.
I mean that was a big match. I do remember I was really tired because I mean I don't know how much you know of that, but I'm heavily involved backstage in WXW. So usually those festival weekends are very busy days for me when it comes to agenting and organizing stuff. Um, so so yeah, like I can tell you my battery was really empty before before that finals. Um, and I'm really happy I was in there with somebody like John Gresham, who then really, you know, forced me to get a like third or fourth win over the weekend. And yeah, I think the tournament finals were. I think it was a good match. I mean, I'm never satisfied with anything that I do in the ring, and it will probably never happen. Um, yeah, the match itself was pretty cool. John did a really nice speech afterwards, but what actually going forward was even more important for me than being in the finals. And um, yeah, uh, being in the 16 karat gold finals was what happened afterwards after I lost it, which was basically the starting point to to a storyline that we're still in.
Yes, you formed Amboss alongside the Arrows of Hungary and Lawrence Roman. What is the ethos, the mission plan, the idea behind Amboss?
I mean, the idea is pretty clear that we're not really satisfied how things are going in wrestling, and it's time for the veterans to stand up against the whole BS that is going on that we dislike. Um, yeah, it. I mean, I'm really happy, to be quite honest, for Lawrence Roman to be part of be part of the group, because I think he's been a great talent a, for a really long time now. But he was maybe missing like the like a little bit of spice, and also seeing his performance over the World Tag Team Festival week was also great. I mean, again, not surprising, because I was very confident that that is in him. But him now bringing it out the way he does is really cool to see. And obviously, the Arrows of Hungary are one of the best tag teams in the world, the best tag team in Europe, I would say, um, at least continental Europe. Um, So yeah, we are four grumpy dudes who like to stretch the young guys.
No, I've very much been enjoying this angle, and very much a fan of the Arrows of Hungary. And if we're going to talk about a World Tag Team Festival, we can't not talk about the Continental Europe, of how much it exposed how great talent is all of across Europe, not just in one, but Hungary and over in France. You had a great contingent from France come over, and from Sweden in Alice Inc. What are you making of this new new crop of continental European stars?
I mean, I think that was our goal to show. I mean, if you look at my Twitter profile, my pinned tweet is that Continental European Wrestling is great. And I think I mean, there's definitely progress going on, but I think it has already been great for the last years. I mean, during the pandemic, nothing was really going on, but I really do think there's a lot of great talent in continental European wrestling, be it France or Hungary. I mean, there's Jacob Crane is coming out of Poland, or Ellis Inc. From Sweden. There's a couple of talented guys in Denmark. Michelle Green is from Switzerland. So there is, and we didn't even touch Italy yet, where there's also a couple of really talented guys, or Maria de la Rosa from Spain. So there's a lot of great talent in continental Europe, and I think World Tag Team Festival was a great way of showcasing that.
Definitely agree. I'd like to see the UK promotions use some more continental European talents to help create fresh matchups. But on the other side of that, so from UK, who are some guys that you would like to see, some of the young guys you'd like to see maybe spend a week or two in the academy, or maybe a few stars that would do well on the main shows?
Good question. To be honest, I didn't really follow the UK scene like really close for the last 3 or 4 months. I do think men like Darius did a really good job at the wildcards event, so he would probably one of the guys. I do like Will Cruz, who was here like 2 years ago. He was here for a week at the academy some time ago, and I think he really made some steps into the right direction. So I think he's pretty impressive. I mean, Caranoa is obviously, I mean, at least to me, probably number one in British wrestling right now. So, but I mean, he's part of the wXw roster anyway, so I think I don't really need to mention him. I do like Alex Windsor a lot. I really enjoy her work. There was only 3, right?
3,
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it shows that, yeah, as you say, Alex Windsor, I mean, for me, I think she's definitely one of the best wrestlers in the UK and Europe and world. She honestly, she's killing it in Tokyo Joshi Pro currently. And a man like Darius, as you mentioned, he's, I think this year has represented almost over 50 different wrestling promotions.
Oh.
Every promotion in the UK just seems to want to use him, and it was great to see him out over in WXW. It was great to see the crowd cheer 0121 for him for his during his entrance. Now the weekend itself, again, what was it like? What did you make of that? Because this time there were no face masks. You could hear the crowd. It was loud. What was it like for you in the ring?
It was great, even though I'm gonna be 100% honest. I had a food poisoning the week before, so I was not at 100%. Or I mean, I enjoyed it, but I probably would have enjoyed it more if physically I was at 100%. Let me put it like that. But yeah, no, I was really happy with how the crowd received the shows, and it seemed like everybody was having a good time, and everybody was invested in what happened inside the ring. And yeah, I mean, to be quite honest, like the closing moment in the finals was probably one of my favorite crowd reactions ever. So yeah, how can I not be happy?
No, yeah, again, fully agree. Now, Femme Fatales returned this year as well. Was there anyone who really stood out for you during that tournament?
Yeah, Alice Inc. I
Ask a
mean,
simple question, get a simple answer. I love it. Anyone else as well?
I mean, obviously Marsha Slamovich is great. Probably one of the best uh, female wrestlers right now on this planet, I think. So I really liked Anastasia Bardot. I was looking forward that we would bring her in for quite some time now, but sometimes you need to wait for, sometimes the opportunity is not there. But it was with Femme Fatales, so I think she's really talented as well. But I think, yeah, Masha Slamovich and Alice Inc. Would be my two names to pick. Also, I love the finals, and yeah, like those would be my two picks.
And you mentioned, I was going to ask a question about the final match itself with against the French Adors, but you mentioned about what you thought of the reaction, which was I spoke to many guys afterwards, and a lot of people were just like, that was an incredible festival, incredible weekend. Anyone from the UK who I met up with, because I didn't realize there was going to be such a big UK fan support there, and we all looked after each other. I asked all of them one question: would you come back for 16 Carat? And every single person said yes.
Well, hopefully.
I will definitely be at 16 Carat this year. I really enjoyed the festival itself, and so for 16 Carat, that's gonna be definitely next on my list. Now, this weekend we saw a bit of a difficult one. We saw NXT UK, former NXT UK stars return. We saw Metahan. We saw Amal. What do you think the hiatus of NXT UK may affect, and what about the possibility of NXT Europe? How do you think this may affect the European independent scene?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I can only say from my standpoint. I mean, if people get to work for WWE for a certain amount of time, and then they come back, that means they bring a lot of knowledge back um, to their home promotion, if you want to call it like that. So from that standpoint, that benefits us definitely. On the other side, let's see how long this is gonna be this way, because I mean, I'm not a big fan of speculating and that stuff, because nobody really, I mean, not nobody, but nobody that I know knows anything about NXT Europe in particular. So I've no clue when it's gonna happen. Is it gonna be something that happens on January 1st, or something that might take another year or two? I don't know. And I personally, I'm too busy in I'm too busy with the school and everything to be speculating about that kind of stuff. So I usually tend to deal with that stuff when I know when there's some facts that I can deal with. You know what I mean? Um, so I don't want to turn down your question, but I'm not a big fan of speculating, and sometimes I also feel like I'm the last guy to like get some infos, or to know about like some gossip and rumors and that kind of thing. So I always feel like I'm kind of late to the party. But for WXW as a company, it's obviously great to have Metehan back, to be able to have Amal back, because again, they can give their knowledge to the new generation, and they can profit from that. So from that side, it's a big plus for us.
Yes. Right. So, a couple of quiz questions before we finish. Some nice, easier ones for you. If you could pick 4 competitors for a European Mount Rushmore, who would you pick? So we'll go for, you're allowed one of all time and one of more current.
Okay, all time. Carl Gotch was born in Belgium, if I remember correctly, right? Okay, so he would be one. Big Daddy, Otto Wanz, and good question. Well, then I will just make Tristan Archer happy and say Andre the Giant.
Why not? So let's go for
That's
4.
a pretty heavy Mount Rushmore now that I think about it.
Well, you're a big man. You gotta love the big man wrestling. Heavyweight wrestling is having such a resurgence, not just in the UK right now. We're getting a lot of new big heavyweights coming up on the scene. Certainly like to see. We've had the Atlas tournament come back, of course. Big Damo is the current champion. How would you like to face Big Damo for the Progress Atlas Championship?
Why not? I'm always up for new challenges.
Okay, so now let's go for your 4 more current Mount Rushmore of Europe.
Walter or Kunta. Fit Finlay, William Regal, and British Bulldog.
British Bulldog always seems to end up in everybody's list. Now, one of the questions we also love asking: if you could have a sustained run right now in, say, America, UK, or Japan, where are you going?
We're talking about like we're talking WWE or AEW or
we'll stick more independent, I guess.
Yeah. I would go with Japan probably, because I wanted to go back. I've been wanting to go back to Japan for, I don't know, like 10 years now or something like that. I'm super happy that I got to go there so early in my career, but I feel like I could leave a different kind of impact, right, if I would be going right now, and if I would have the opportunity to wrestle there right now than I was 10 years ago, even though it was a very important part of my career. I just wish I could go there with my skill set that I do have right now, because I think I could make way bigger impact than 10 years ago.
Okay, we're gonna narrow it down. We're gonna go Noah, All Japan, or Dragon Gate, or Big Japan, or all 4.
I mean, Dragon Gate would probably not really fit me. I would say out of nostalgia, of course, I need to say Big Japan, but realistically, I would say All Japan would be the most interesting for me right now.
Excellent. Now, tickets are now on sale for WXW's 22nd anniversary in December, as well as the 16 Carat Gold. What could we possibly expect from these shows?
I mean, we need to find out in the upcoming weeks and months, right? I saw a graphic the day before, 2 days before, or something like that. So there has been a couple of wrestlers announced already, including Cara Noir, if I'm not mistaken. I think you can, without taking anything away, I think you can expect what you can always expect from WXW, which is a storytelling pro wrestling product. If I'm not mistaken, Levaniel challenged Tristan Archer for the Unified World Wrestling Championship at the 22nd anniversary on the 3rd day of Tag Festival. So that's probably that's something that a lot of people are looking forward to, I would say.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure there's gonna be much more.
Super. I really thank you for your time today, Robert. I know you're a very busy man, so I'll let you get back to it. Thank you for joining us today. Is there any new merch coming your way, Amboss, or?
We just dropped our first piece of merch at the tech festival with the Amboss shirt. I think that's gonna be it for yeah, for the next time. But if you want to support Amboss, and if you want to support our message of reclaiming, reshaping, and rebuilding, then you better get one of those t-shirts.
Super. Thank you very much for your time today. And as we always leave it, don't feed the trolls.